Now, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, it's the Aztec Coaches Show. Here's your host, Chris Ello.
Go! It's Wednesday night. Welcome, everybody, to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Another edition of the Aztec Coaches Show. Chris Ello here, along with head coach Rocky Long. We'll be talking about the Aztecs game last Saturday night against San Jose State, looking ahead to this Saturday night's conference opener against Fresno State. Of course, Hooley's is home to the famous corned beef tacos. I saw a couple of those floating around here earlier, and other award-winning menu items. And, of course, Wednesdays throughout the college football season right here at Hooley's in Grossmont Center. We have head coach Rocky Long right here with us, and we'll be going around the room here to those of you that are here with us and give you a chance to ask some questions to Coach Long if you'd like a little bit later on in our program. If you're listening on AM 600 Kogo or FM News Talk 95.7, you can call us. The phone number is 858-569-8255. That's 858-569-8255. And if you're watching or listening on the internet anywhere, you can call in 1-800-600-KOGO. That's 1-800-600-5646. And allow me to introduce the head coach of the San Diego State Aztecs, Mr. Rocky Long. Coach, I'll tell you, that game Saturday night against San Jose State was going to wind up being one of two things. It was going to either wind up being a great, quote, great game if you won it, or it's going to be a real tough loss if you didn't win it. And so that goes into the second category as a tough loss, because there really are no great games when you don't win them. But it was exciting. It was back and forth, last team to have the ball type of game. A lot of fun Saturday night. It just didn't turn out your way.
Well, it might have been fun for some people. It wasn't any fun for me. But going into the game, we thought that it was going to be a very close game. We thought the two teams were of equal ability. I think we talked about it last week. I thought the talent level on both teams were the same. I thought both teams played extremely hard. I thought both teams were very, very physical, and they made a couple plays more than we did. And that's what usually happens when you play a team of equal ability. The game is going to be close, and nobody ever knows how it's going to turn out. But a mistake makes a difference, or a kickoff return makes a difference, or not being able to stop them their last drive makes a difference, or not scoring the last time we got the ball makes a difference. You can point out a bunch of different things that are going to change a close game one way or the other.
Let's take a look at the game a little more closely. I thought offensively you guys had a terrific night. You put up 484 yards of offense against their defense, which was top 25 in the nation. You guys rushed for 271 yards in that game. Adam Mwema had 202 of those. So talk a little bit about your offense and the way they played on Saturday night, because I thought it was, from beginning to end, maybe your best all-around performance on that side of the ball.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised that we were able to run the ball that well. Now, our offensive line is continuing to get better. They're not as good as they need to be or will be, but they're continuing to get better, and they're blocking well for the run. And whenever you can run the ball, and then the pass protection for the quarterback is easier. But when you watch the film, I thought the two running backs were outstanding. In the first few games when we ran the ball pretty well, there were some big holes there, and they were able to get into the holes and make somebody miss. They really broke a lot of tackles. I mean, they made people miss in the hole. They broke tackles. Adam Mwema's long run, I bet you he was hit 5 times. And he just kept wiggling and going and moving his feet, and then all of a sudden he pops out of there and he outruns everybody to the end zone except Bryce. Butler did a nice job of getting in front of him and shading or blocking the last guy there that could have made the tackle. But I'll bet you Adam broke 5 tackles on that run. And then Walter Casey, a couple times when he scored, he would break 2 or 3 tackles to score touchdowns. So I thought the running backs really ran hard. And if you're able to run the ball, a lot of things work well. I thought there was only one thing we did poorly on offense. And right before halftime, we had the ball down there with a little over a minute to go. And we still had 3 timeouts on the clock. And we threw 3 straight passes. Now, the way we were running the ball, I would have guessed that maybe we would have tried to pound it in there a couple times, and then if we didn't pound it in there a couple times, then throw a pass. And other than that, that's the only thing I thought the offense did poorly. Everything else the offense did really well.
You talk about these 2 running backs. Adam Mwema is really sparkling for you. He's averaging over 7 yards per carry. I mean, that's That's big-time stuff. I mean, that's Ronnie Hillman type. That's a little bit more than Ronnie Hillman was even getting. He averaged to 8 yards a carry on Saturday night. Just talk about Adam Uwema. I mean, he's only a sophomore, and this kid is really taken over. I thought that 83-yard run was as spectacular as any run I've seen any Aztec have in the last several years.
That's why I was looking at your stat sheet. I didn't know how long that run was, but when you have an 83-yarder there, having an 8-yard average per carry, that's.
But even if you take that out, he still had a pretty good game. He still had 120 yards on 24 carries, so that would have still been a pretty good average.
Yeah, I mean, I said before the season that we didn't have anybody like Ronnie Hillman, but we had good running backs in the program. So everybody seems surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I said we would get the same production out of 2 or 3 guys that we got out of Ronnie last year, and that's just becoming true. I didn't think it would be quite this early because I thought it would take our offensive line a little bit longer to develop to the point where they are right now. I mean, they've gotten there quicker than I anticipated, and our defensive line hasn't got there as quick as I anticipated.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your quarterback, Ryan Katz. He had 17 out of 27 against San Jose State, 213 yards, couple of touchdowns. They sacked him 5 times. I thought that was one of the keys to the game. I thought San Jose State did a nice job of containing him in the pocket. He likes to get out and run, and he couldn't find any openings to get out and run against the Spartans, yet he still hung in there and had himself another good night. He hasn't thrown an INT in 3 games, so he's been very efficient for you.
I thought he did a nice job, and I mean, he hasn't thrown an interception as partly is because if he doesn't see anybody open, he takes the ball down and takes off. And I agree with you. I thought San Jose State did a great job of keeping him in the pocket. They didn't put great pressure on him, but they kept him in the pocket, so when there wasn't anybody open, he didn't get the yardage with his feet.
Yeah.
And then, so they got 3 sacks basically when he was scrambling with the ball and couldn't find anywhere to go. Now, the last 2 sacks, that's one of those deals you have to throw the ball, and they can pin their ears back, and they come after you, and that's how that happened. But Ryan's playing well, and I think he gets more comfortable with the offense every week, and so we anticipate he'll keep playing well.
Let's talk a little bit about your defense in that game Saturday night. I thought, and I know talking with you, that for 3 quarters, you guys really limited them. I don't have the exact numbers. They got most of their offense in the 4th quarter. What was the key to what you were doing so well in the first 3 quarters that you were unable to do in the 4th quarter? And I've kind of already asked you this question, so I kind of know the answer, but I know that the fans want to know.
Well, I think I've answered it before, but I mean, there's some things that you can look at that we haven't been able to improve on as much as we need to. First of all, we're not getting a good enough pass rush with 4 guys. If you can get a decent pass rush with 4 guys, there's all kinds of fancy coverages you can play that make it a lot harder to complete a pass. So your alternative is to blitz, okay? And now you're putting the DBs in one-on-one situations that if the blitz does not get there in time or doesn't get there fast enough to disrupt the quarterback's timing, the quarterbacks are so good now and the receivers are so good now, they throw it very accurately and they throw it and catch it. Well, in the first 3 quarters, I thought that we put a new coverage in, and I thought the new coverage really bothered San Jose State, and they could not run the ball. Our kids played really good against the run, and then the pass patterns that they normally run, that coverage worked very, very well against. Well, in the 4th quarter, they designed a plan. It must have been on the sidelines because it sure wasn't there in the 3rd quarter. In the 4th quarter, they designed a plan where it was really smart on their part, where they started picking our guys.
Yes, and they did. As a matter of fact,
I guess it wasn't a pick because it was never called.
It was never called, but on the winning touchdown, I was isolating on their receiver, and there was a pick on that play for sure, yeah.
So it's really smart on their part. I mean, they designed some patterns so that one of their guys either ran into one of our guys or they ran one of our guys into one of our guys. It was really a good adjustment by them as long as it's not called, and it wasn't called. Then I don't think, as a coach, I don't think I did a good enough job. We had worked on a 6 DB scheme all during the week that when it got in crunch time, we were going to put 6 DBs in the game. And so the last drive that won the game for them, we put our dime package in there And obviously we did not do a good enough job of coaching it. Our players didn't feel comfortable in it. So we put them in there for about 3 plays, and we couldn't even get lined up. And that's not their fault. That's a coach's fault. I thought they understood the dime scheme. Obviously, they didn't understand it well enough to play it. So when you ask players to do things they're not ready to do, that's a coaching fault. That's a coaching problem. I learned something because in practice I thought they had it down, but when I stuck them in the game, the 6th DB in the game, we made all kinds of errors, and so losing the game in the fourth quarter on defense has a lot to do with coaching as well as maybe not executing some of the play.
Well, I think the other thing that cost you, and we talked about it, was the special teams on the kickoff returns. They had one for a touchdown and one that set up a touchdown. You also fumbled a punt that led to a field goal. It was possible that you could have shut them out in the first half with the way your defense was playing, but they ended up getting 17, what I kind of call free points. I'm sure you kind of look at it very similarly. But on the other side, you kicked a couple of field goals finally, and that was good to see. So special teams-wise, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but I know you feel that hurts you as well.
Well, I mean, if you take emotion out of it, and I'm kind of emotional about things at times. If you take emotion out of it, we lost the game because of special teams. I mean, we actually played good enough defense. I mean, we finished on defense so poorly, it taints the whole defensive effort. And then when you watch the film, we were so much better against San Jose State on defense than we were the week before against North Dakota. So we had made some improvement. That doesn't take it away that we did poorly in the last 2 drives. I'm not trying to do that. But if you look at everything involved, it's special teams that cost us the game. One kickoff return is 7 points. Another kickoff return, they get the ball to our 22-yard line. We fumble a punt that they get down there close. And actually the defense did a great job of stopping them that time to make them kick a field goal. There was one other time they drove it down there and we caused a fumble and got a fumble back. So we have to do a much better job on special teams. Now, some of that was our kickers. I mean, we kicked off and the ball got in the returner's hands way too soon, a lot sooner than it should be. But we actually did cover it pretty well. We missed tackles. On both kickoff returns, we had 2 guys in position to make the tackle, and they both missed it. So, so if you don't play real good defense in the fourth quarter, and you give up 17 points on special teams, it's really, really hard to win a game.
And you almost did win it, but San Jose State got the W 38-34. It was a thriller on Saturday night. The Aztecs are 2-2, and it is time now for conference play. First Mountain West Conference game of this season coming up Saturday night against Fresno State. We'll come back with the coach, talk about that one, look ahead. Also coming up on our program tonight, live from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, your questions for Coach Rocky Long, so get them ready. It is the Aztec Coaches Show on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo.
Go!
Welcome back to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill. It's hopping tonight in here. You guys are hanging tough. We appreciate you being out here in Grossmont Center. Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, also located in my hometown of Rancho San Diego. Award-winning food, great draft and bottled beer selections, and fantastic happy hour specials, too. That's all because of this guy right here, Craig. Let's hear it for Craig, the guy who runs Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, our man on the scene. Click Hoolies.com for directions and more. Hooley's, the official host location of the Aztec Football Coaches Show. All right, coming up Saturday night, it's the conference opener. Aztecs take on Fresno State. Met them last year, and that was a good game. That was a thrilling game that you won, so we can talk about that. But you were down 21-0, came back. It was the biggest Aztec comeback since 1969. Come back and win that game 35-28 in the final game of the regular season. But last year wasn't a conference game. This year it's the first conference game of the season. So how do you prepare for this one, or do you do anything different at all? I know the other day you said every game is equally important, but I know that the Mountain West Conference Championship is of ultimate importance to you. So getting off to a 1-0 start is crucial, critical.
Well, I mean, I think every game has the same importance. I mean, obviously our number one goal in this program is to win a conference championship. You might win a conference championship with 1 loss. I've even seen someone win a conference championship with 2 losses. But the only way you can be assured of winning the conference championship is you win every game. That's the only way you're for sure going to be the champion. And so obviously there's a little more importance when you start, and that's all we have left. You start playing conference games from here on out. Every conference game is a little bit more important if you're going to reach your goal of winning a conference championship. Now, I say that, and I think both these teams have equal abilities. I think they're a talented football team. I think we're a pretty talented football team. I think we run an unusual defense. They run an unusual defense. Now, we run the ball and use play action pass. They're a spread team. They are basically running Oregon's offense, and so it's the same offense that Oregon runs, but it's in the Mountain West Conference. They have an excellent quarterback in David Carr. He's a senior. He's been the starting quarterback for 3 years. He's probably going to be drafted pretty high, I think in the top 3 rounds in the NFL next year. And they've got pretty good skill guys. So I think it's going to be for a fan, I think it's going to be a very exciting, close, hard-fought football game. It might be high-scoring. It might not be high-scoring. But it's going to be close. It's going to be physical. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be fun to watch, except for the guys on the sideline. It won't be fun for us, but it'll be a fun game to watch, and it'll be a great game if we win.
As long as it's a fun plane ride home, that's the main thing I'm worried about, is that it's a fun plane ride home after Saturday night. Talk a little bit about their running game. Robbie Rouse, who's from San Diego, went to Madison High School. You said that you and Brady Hoke tried to recruit him. He decided to go to Fresno State. He's broken a lot of records up there. And he reminds me a little bit of Ronnie Hillman. He's a little guy, 5'7", and that's being generous. Is it one of those kind of obvious deals where you say to yourself defensively, we have to shut down the run first and try to make them one-dimensional? Well, or is that too simplistic?
I think that's pretty simplistic. But yeah. He's a very good running back, and I'll explain why he is, because in the past they haven't been a spread team. They were more like us. They were a pro team that he was in the eye, and they ran power plays, and they ran zone plays with a lead blocker, and they ran toss sweeps, and he was really, really good at that. Now he's the only back in there most of the time, and he is a spread back now, which means they throw the ball to him out of the backfield. He can catch the ball really well. And what he does the very best, I think, is they run a play called a zone read, where the quarterback either gives it to him or keeps it himself. And zone read play is because everybody is spread out covering receivers. So you usually don't have enough guys in the box to fill every gap. So what you have to have is really good defensive players that can take on a block, get off a block, and make a tackle. Except that Robbie is so quick and gets in the hole so quick and gets out of a hole so quick, and he's 5'6". First of all, you can't see him. Second of all, he's so quick, he gets in the hole so fast that by the time you come off a block, it's really hard to tackle him. So, in my estimation, he's the perfect spread running back. Even though he set a lot of those, or he got in position to set a lot of those records by being an eye tailback. That just shows his versatility. He catches the ball well. He's strong. I mean, he breaks arm tackles. He's a very good running back.
Very, very good indeed. He's rushed for over 100 yards in all 4 games this season for Fresno State. You mentioned their quarterback, Derek Carr. His brother is David Carr, who was the number 1 pick in the NFL draft back in 2002. You guys faced Derek Carr last year, but this is a little better version of Derek Carr, I would think, in his senior season.
Well, I think he's better than he was last year, and I think when he was the starting quarterback his first 2 years as a starter, they were a lot like us. They wanted to run the ball. They wanted to use play-action pass, and so he probably threw 25 or 30 passes a game. Well, now he's getting to throw 50 or 60 passes a game because he's in the spread. So, and I don't know if that, I'll be honest with you, I don't know if that helps his NFL chances or hurts his NFL chances. Because the NFL is still in the run the ball, use play action pass, protect the quarterback, drop back game. And a lot of times they don't like taking, a lot of pro teams don't like taking spread teams. Now that's changing because of Cam Newton and RG3 and all that. So that's changing. The NFL's changing their attitude, so it probably helps them to be in the spread.
And then what's their defense like? You said they run a bit of an odd defense, kind of like you guys do.
Well, it sounds familiar. They're a 3-4 defense.
Need a break.
And a lot of people run 3-4. But they are a blitzing team, but it's all zone blitz. They play very little man coverage. They blitz and play a lot of zones, which means they try to confuse the quarterback but there's big holes out there. There's big holes, but if the blitz gets there in time, you don't find the holes.
All right, we'll find out how the Aztecs handle it. Aztecs and Fresno State coming up Saturday night. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll be on with the pregame show beginning at 6 o'clock. When we come back to Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill, we'll open it up for some questions from our live studio audience. So get your questions ready for Coach Rocky Long. You are listening to the Aztec Coaches Show on News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. We pause now quickly for a Kogo News update. We are back at Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. The second half kickoff for our Aztec Football Coaches Show. Chris Ello, along with the head coach of the Aztecs, Rocky Long. Want to remind you fans, Aztecs are on the road this Saturday night at Fresno State, but tickets are still available for the Aztecs' next home game a week from Saturday, October the 6th. San Diego State welcoming Hawaii into Qualcomm Stadium, and it is the annual KGB Sky Show, so you want to get your tickets for this game early. Tickets start at only $11. Kickoff is at 5 o'clock next Saturday, a week from Saturday, as the Aztecs take on Hawaii. To purchase tickets, call 619-283-SDSU or log on to goaztecs.com. The Sky Show game is sponsored by MRC, a Xerox company. That's coming up a week from Saturday when the Aztecs take on Hawaii. But first, it's the Fresno State Bulldogs. That's coming up this Saturday night. This is our segment where we have some questions from the crowd for Coach Rocky Long. Polly, are we ready to go with a couple of questions out there for the coach? Go ahead, sir. Start us off tonight.
Hey, Coach. The last drive of the fourth quarter, Ryan Katz had to leave the game because his helmet came off. Could you have used a challenge to challenge his having to leave the game due to the method by which the helmet came off?
No, you can't challenge that.
We thought that when you took a timeout, you could put him back in the game, but obviously that wasn't the case either.
You can't save a player with a timeout. If his helmet comes off, he has to come off the field and he has to miss at least one play. So a timeout doesn't put him back in the game. You can never challenge an opinion call, basically. You can only challenge it whether it's a catch or not a catch, it's a fumble, not a fumble. You can challenge the spot of the ball. You can't ever challenge what I thought was a personal foul by ripping his helmet off. No, you can't challenge that.
There you have it, yeah. That's how his helmet came off, wasn't it? That's what the film showed. Let's just put it that way.
The film shows that he got grabbed by the back. A guy grabbed the back of his helmet and pulled it off of him. Yes, that's what it showed.
That was a huge play. I mean, to take him out for one play when you're trying to put together your final drive. I mean, that's about as bad a luck as you can have. I mean, nothing against Adam Dingwell, but to bring him in and say, okay, right, go throw one about 25 yards downfield because we need a big completion, that's pretty tough to do.
Plus, that was second down. It would have been a 15-yard penalty, and we would have had first down.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't go your way, and on that, just ask the Green Bay Packers, I guess.
Yep.
Thanks for the phone call. I'm not gonna even ask the coach about that. Coach told me earlier that he had to go back and look at a tape of that play because so many people have asked him about it. Did you have another question? Go ahead.
All right. I noticed you have Seamus McMorrow back, and now you have two kickers. Is your preference for kickoffs to bury it in the end zone and have them come back on the 25, or to kick it to one of the corners and see if you can pin them back deeper?
Well, after our experience last week, I'd much rather kick it through the end zone so they got the ball in the 25. And, I mean, that's the safer play. That's always the safer play unless you have a guy that can put it right about the goal line and keep it up in the air for 5 seconds, and there aren't many of those. If you can do that, then you'll take a chance of pinning them inside the 25-yard line. But it's much safer if you can kick it through the end zone.
Seamus McMorrow, the freshman from St. Augustine, will be back for the game this Saturday night, and that will certainly help the cause. How happy were you for Chance Martin to make a couple of field goals the other night? I mean, you had to feel for the kid after the first three misses, and then he knocks in a couple for you, and they were big ones. I mean, the one tied the game. The other one was really a pressure kick, a 41-yarder, put you ahead in the fourth quarter. And that had to give you a little confidence, give him a little confidence, and just make everybody feel a little bit better about the whole deal.
Well, I mean, we get kind of jaded sometimes as you move up in sports. I mean, in the NFL, I think you get real jaded in the NFL. I mean, because that's a business and everything. You know, you can remember starting in Little League and everything was wonderful, and then you go to high school and it gets a little more competitive and a little more serious, but it's still kind of nice. And then you get to college and it gets even a little more serious, and everybody, you know, guess what? Kickers miss kicks. I mean, they miss kicks at all levels. And it's one of those fun things for a coach that you stick with a kid, and then he goes out and does well. I mean, obviously he had the ability because he kept winning all the competitions in practice. Every time we would compete in practice, he was the best kicker. So that's how you get on the field. If you're the best player in practice, you get on the field. And so as long as he was the best kicker in practice, he was going to be the guy kicking field goals. Whether he would have made them or not, he'd still be the guy kicking field goals. So all of a sudden he makes a couple, and now guess what? I told him he's going 20 in a row. He's going to make 20 of them in a row.
You mentioned that last week.
Yeah.
You got 2 down, 18 to go for Chance Martin. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the 4th down gamble that you guys took. I think it was the third quarter, 17-17 ball game at that time. And, of course, everybody was so critical in the Washington game about some of the 4th down plays. So let's make sure that we hit both sides of the coin here. You get 4th down. You're at the 3-yard line. Obviously, it's a chip shot field goal to give you the lead. And you guys decide to go for it on 4th down there, and you score a touchdown to take a 7-point lead. Tell us a little bit about what went into that decision, because it was a good one. It was.
I'm not sure it's a good one, but thank God that Gavin Escobar made a great catch and kept his feet in bounds, or I'd be sitting here, trying to explain why we went for it. I can get into all the mathematics, but I'm not going to do that. It was a gut feeling. We needed a touchdown. We went for it. We executed. We got it. Plus, we hadn't made a field goal yet, I don't think, so I wasn't sure we'd make the field goal.
That's right.
It was an easy decision, but if we wouldn't have scored the touchdown, it would have been big news.
Okay, well, did we have any more questions for Coach Rocky Long tonight? Yeah, there's one back there, I think. Polly, there's a guy with a question for Coach Rocky Long, Aztecs and Fresno State. 7 o'clock Saturday night, 6 o'clock for the pregame show. Yes, sir.
First of all, Rocky, hail Montezuma. I want to talk to you about what's going on with the chart. We're putting up 200, 250, 300. We're putting up crazy rushing yards. Are we going to stick with the going forward on 4th down? Are we not? I get all excited. We're in the game. I'm like, wait. Punting? What's going on with the punting? And then, we're kicking field goals. And what's going on with the chart?
I think we just discussed the chart. We kind of touched on it a little bit there.
We evaluate every week. We evaluate the opponent. We evaluate ourselves, and then we compare how we think the game is going to come out. And we do that kind of by experience, by watching film, and depending on how we view the opponent as well as ourselves and how we think the game's going. That changes dramatically when we're going to go for it, when we're going to kick it. So every week is a different deal. There's not one thing that covers what we're going to do every week. Every week we go into it with a game plan on what down and distance and what yard line we're going to go for it on 4th down. I mean, it's planned before the game. But I'm not going to let anybody know when it's happening and when it's not, because every week's different. Does that answer it?
You good? All right, we got one more question for Coach Rocky Long. Yes, sir.
Hello, Coach. Before the football season started last year, you referred to that season as the 3rd year of a 5-year plan. So that means this year would be the 4th year of a 5-year plan, carrying over from Coach Hoke's first 2 years. My questions for you are you on schedule for the 5-year plan? And then also, what will the program be like after 5 years?
I think that we're still. Yeah, I think we're on the program. I think we're on course of a fourth of a 5-year plan. And what happens when you're the 5th year? Now we're going into a new conference, which changes things a little bit because we don't know the teams as well. After 5 years, you ought to be one of the top 3 teams in the conference every single year. And that means you every once in a while you win the conference championship.
Either that or you're Alabama, right? Can we be Alabama for a year?
You give me Alabama's budget, in 5 years we'll be Alabama.
Craig, you heard him. Pass the hat around a little bit here at Hooley's. We'll get Alabama's budget. We're going to take a quick break, come back. We got one final segment with Aztec head coach Rocky Long. San Diego State Aztec Football Coaches Show from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. News Radio FM 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. Thanks for being here tonight, folks. All right, guys, we got to bring it strong. Fourth and final quarter of the Aztec Coaches Show from Hooley's Irish Pub and Grill in Grossmont Center. Appreciate you being with us tonight. Want to remind you that Quality First Real Estate is San Diego's top real estate company. We can help you buy, sell, and manage San Diego real estate. When it comes to real estate, it's always Quality First. Click qualityfirstrealestate.com. And if you're interested in buying, selling, or leasing a commercial property, Quality First Commercial is a full-service commercial real estate firm. Visit our website at qualityfirstcommercial.com. QFC is here for all of your commercial real estate needs. Our California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. Time for that award. California Bank and Trust proud to recognize San Diego State's outstanding student athletes, and this week's winner is women's soccer star Megan Jurado. Megan scored a total of 3 goals over the weekend as the Aztecs claim victories over UC Irvine and UC Santa Barbara. This season, Megan leads the team with 7 goals. 5 of those have been game winners. She also has more points and shots on goal than any other Aztec. Last season, Megan was an All-Mountain West first team selection and one of 5 players to start in every game. She has started all 11 games this year. Megan is from San Jose, majoring in criminal justice. And let's hear it for the Aztec women's soccer team. I don't know if you guys know how well they are playing, but right now they have a record of 9-1-1, and they are ranked number 12 in the entire nation. And their only loss was to Stanford, the defending national champion, beat them 1-0 in a game that they actually outplayed Stanford in. So that women's soccer team is having a tremendous season. Congratulations to Megan Jurado, this week's California Bank and Trust Student Athlete of the Week. We got 4 or 5 minutes left with Coach Rocky Long as the Aztecs prepare to take on Fresno State. I guess the easiest question to ask you going into this game is, are you going to try and change anything defensively going up against a spread offense, being as you've played basically now 3 spread offenses in a row? North Dakota gave you some problems. San Jose State was able to give you some problems. Now you get another spread in Fresno State. So do you change what you're doing defensively, or do you just have to do everything on defense a little bit better this week?
Well, we did a couple things last week I thought that helped us. The one coverage that we put in helped us a little bit. The dime package obviously did not, because we weren't able to execute it in the last drive. I think we do more of the same. I mean, we'll do a couple different things that we hope will work and give us some advantages, but I think you just have to get better at what you do, and you have to execute better. And so we executed better last week than we did the week before, and I'm hoping we execute better this week, and that'll give us a chance to win the game.
How about your team's mindset going back out on the road? You've had the luxury of playing 3 consecutive games at home. You go back out on the road, hostile territory, as everybody always says. I'm sure it'll be noisy in Fresno. They'll have a good crowd up there. What do you think about your team going out on the road, this group of guys?
Well, I don't think it's any big deal. I mean, we're bussing. We're going 6 hours on a bus up there. I wonder if Alabama goes on a bus. But we're bussing up, and I think I'm kind of looking forward to it. I kind of miss the bus trips when I used to play and all that stuff. But our players, I think they're excited about playing. I don't think the hostile environment, so to speak, is any big deal. Now, I've been to Fresno several times for games. They've got great fans.
Yep.
They're kind of ornery, and they're kind of nasty to the visiting team, but they are great fans.
Are they mean to the visiting announcers, too?
Well, if you want to walk from our locker room to the stadium, that's when they're when they're really nasty. It's right there.
Okay, I'll be
If you want to walk with us, they'll be nasty to you too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good. That's good to know.
But I don't think it's any big deal. I think our kids are excited about playing. I'm sure their kids are excited about playing. I think it'll be a very good game.
Health-wise, you guys are doing very well still. I haven't seen any injuries come down, and that's one positive through the first 4 games of the season, at least as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had many. We had a couple broken hands.
Yeah.
That they're going to be able to play with, but that's part of it. You know, Nick Tannenhoff just broke it in the last game, and then Alec Johnson broke it the week before that. The only trouble is that they can't use the one hand yet, so they're playing with a club, and I don't know how how well you can block with a club, and I don't know how well you can tackle with a club. But
Alec Johnson said he loved having the club. He said he blocked really well the other night. He said he enjoyed it, but that will be a challenge for Tenhoff if he has to try and intercept a pass. We'll keep an eye on that on Saturday night as you guys get set to take on these Fresno State Bulldogs. As far as the rest of your ball club is concerned, everybody's good, healthy, ready to go. And how do you look at the Mountain West Conference shaping up? Let me ask you that. Do you scout the rest of the conference going in, or are you just focused only on you guys and what you need to do each and every week? I mean, we know that Boise is down the road. We know Nevada looks like they have a very good team. Fresno's good. Air Force is good. They just got beat by UNLV, so they're much improved. New Mexico's already won 2 games this year, so I know that they're better than they've been in the past. Colorado State has a win over Colorado, so I don't think there's going to be any gimmies anywhere along the line.
There are no gimmies. I think that the conference is so close. Just like I think Fresno State and our team, we're very close athletically, and I think both teams will play hard, and I think our whole conference is like that. I think every team physically is very close to the other team. So what's going to happen in our conference is the team that gets on a roll, the team that gets momentum going in their direction and does not have critical injuries. All the teams in our league are pretty good as long as their best players are playing. Just like Wyoming just had a win last week and had to come back and win, but they had lost 2 games in a row, and I thought Wyoming was a really good football team, but their starting quarterback was hurt. He got hurt before halftime of one game they lost. The next game he didn't play and they lost. They lost to Cal Poly.
Yeah, I think Cal Poly beat them.
And their quarterback was hurt. Well, their quarterback came back last week and threw 5 touchdown passes in the second half, so they won the game. Well, guess he's back. So Wyoming's better now with him back. So if you get on a roll, you get momentum going in your favor, and you don't get critical injuries, you're going to win the conference championship. And I think any team in this league could probably do it.
Well, it is the Aztecs' 14th and final season in the Mountain West Conference Championship. Anybody here at Hooley's for a conference championship to go out? Let's wrap things up with a conference championship. Let's head into the Big East with a conference championship on the ledger. Coach, we wish you the best of luck on Saturday night against Fresno State. We'll look forward to the game. We'll have it for you on AM 600 Kogo and News Radio 95.7. 7 o'clock kickoff Saturday night, 6 o'clock for the pregame show. Thanks for joining us again. Another great Aztec Coaches Show.
Thank you.
All right, we want to thank our support staff. Start with Craig at Hooley's, the man who runs the show here and takes care of us every single week. Scott and Polly on the internet feed. Thanks, you guys, for doing that. My ball club, Tiffany and Vince back there. The promotions department, the best studio engineer, on-site engineer in the business, Mr. Kevin Boyle, and the best studio engineer in the business back at our station, Kevin Finnerty. For Coach Rocky Long, I'm Chris Ello. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you Saturday night, and we'll see you next Wednesday right here at Hooley's, the Aztec Coaches Show from News Radio 95.7 and AM 600 Kogo. Good night.
Clear, good night.
From Learfield Sports on the Aztec Sports Network, this was the Aztec Coaches Show, presented by
All right, it's ready.
Verizon.
All right, everybody, we've got a Rocky Long signed Aztecs hat to give away. First person to yell this out, and I hear you, is going to win the signed hat. The Aztecs have played Fresno State 51 times. That's more than any other team in the history of college football. This will be the 52nd game Saturday night. How many games out of those 51 have the Aztecs won? 27. Bob, you're too smart, man. 27 is absolutely right. Congratulations, Bob. You got it right there in the front row. Bob, how many signed hats do you have? All right, 27. We lost 20, and there's been 4 ties. It's going to be 28 after Saturday night. Thanks so much for coming out. Remember to take care of your wait staff for taking care of us. Craig, thanks a lot. Thanks again for coming. We'll see you next Wednesday night.